Hello and welcome to Miss White Hat out of Sweden, the core of the deep state. You are so welcome. Yeah, you can really say that it's happening a lot. We are in the middle of a global military sting operation and also an educational project. We have to see and experience in order to understand and realize, and also some pain is the key to find the will to change. So as you can hear, I'm Swedish. That's my mother tongue, and we have an oligarch family here called Wallenberg. And you remember that Trump said that there are people in the shadows that you have never heard about. The people that are pulling the strings of Soros, World Economic Forum, Bill Gates, and Obama, and so forth. That is this family. And actually, a while ago, they were on Wikipedia as the richest family in the world. And if you go to Wikipedia in English and type in the Wallenberg family, you will see that it's actually 43 minutes read. What I would like to talk about today is the financial system, because the Wallenberg family, actually together with the Warburg family and the Warburg Bank, they were behind the Federal Reserve Act in 1913, and also both the First and the Second World War. And we know that it was the Warburg Bank and the IG Farben that financed Hitler and built the concentration camps. And a big shareholder of that is the Wallenberg family. So yeah, the puppets, this is the puppet masters. And in the 30s, they started BIS, Bank of International Settlements. And that is actually you can say the central bank of the central banks. That is Bank of International Settlements. And then you have all the central banks underneath on the SWIFT system. And if you don't believe that we are in a paradigm shift or a huge change, we can just look at the fact that before, 90% of global trade was traded in dollar. And now you have about 80% of the world GDP that are ditching the dollar. So, and they are also linking their currency to gold and commodities. And of course that will have a huge impact of everything. And yes, the dollar is dead, but I believe that Trump is behind all this and working together with this constellation that are draining the swamp. And in Sweden, we have, as I said, the core of the deep state. Their motto is esse non vedere, to act without being seen, or to act not to be seen. But what we have seen the last couple of years is that they are only seen, but they are unable to act. They can't act because they are under siege by the US military, and I will show you that. And we also believe that the Swedish government is under siege by the US military. So we have a continuity of government here as well, exactly as you have in Washington, D.C. So this central bank, this central banking system. So if we look at this US debt clock, we can see that we have a new window here. It's called money creation. And we can see that this is US Treasury dollars. So what happened in March 2020 is that the US Treasury, through the CARES Act, actually took control over the privately owned Federal Reserve. So what we have now is that the Federal Reserve is incorporated into Treasury. So if we look at the money creation here, we can see that US Treasury dollars is increasing all the time. So the money that is printed now is actually Treasury dollars, not Federal Reserve dollars. And this is a huge change. And here we can have some money banking history. In 1862, President Lincoln issued $450 million directly from the US Treasury. These debt-free, interest-free notes were known as greenbacks. And also on June 4th, 1963, President Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110, issuing $4.3 billion directly from the US Treasury, bypassing the Federal Reserve Bank. These debt-free, interest-free notes were known as silver certificates. And this is really interesting. And what we saw now was that Alex Soros tweets about bullet hole and 47, a direct violent threat to Donald Trump. So here we can see the bullet hole, and this adds up to 47. And what we can see is that the dollars used here is silver certificate. So this is actually silver certificate notes. And that is really interesting. So what did Alex Soros mean by this? Maybe that 47 will destroy the Fed. And Alex Soros also talked about Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum. And he says that, there are unwritten rules that you are supposed to follow. But Donald Trump didn't do that. And I mean, if you are a globalist, you don't believe in America. You don't believe in any country at all. You don't have any loyalty to any country. You can put something where it suits you best. Maybe production in China, maybe car production in Mexico. A country that is within NATO can be good for some things, and another country that is within the Euro country that can be good. So you can just put it anywhere and just move the goods everywhere. And what is so important with moving all the goods is that you can also smuggle drugs, human trafficking, and so on this boat. So you want to have everything going around the world all the time. And that's the difference with Trump, that he's not a globalist. He puts America first. And you can see that they are really annoyed with this. That, I mean, he doesn't even believe in this global system. And he's destroying their system with all the customs and so on. So we will listen to Alex Soros, what he says about Trump here.
Is the fundamental issue in democracy. Democracy is messy. I mean, democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about plurality. It's about people having different truths, actually. Now, fundamentally, how society lives together civically in those contestations is obviously quite tricky. But I think that if we play too much on this disinformation card, we're taking responsibility away from ourselves to actually create a narrative that inspires people to vote and to believe, in democracy and democratic institutions. And on the institutional part, I think that we can talk about institutions as these abstract things, but institutions are also about people. And we just heard this point about untrustworthy people, and we talked about things in the United States like checks and balances, which aren't written anywhere but are customs. And one man, Donald Trump, literally came in and just took that all away. But when I see this, when I look at this, more globally regarding democracy, I also say to myself, when was this great time that everybody got along so well, and things were going so great? I mean, I think I think that we really have to be careful here in this nostalgia for a time past, because a lot of the reactions we're seeing in society are actually reactions to positive things like equality for women, and greater diversity, which come with backlash. I don't think that's the fundamental. I don't think technology is the fundamental issue in democracy. Democracy is messy. I mean, democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about plurality. It's about people having different truths. Actually.
Yeah. So in the Q post, we can see that George Soros is taking orders from someone, and he's a puppet to someone. So if we read post 416, it says, Soros takes orders from P. You have no idea how sick and evil these people are. Fight, fight, fight. Day of days. Game over. Q. And this is from December 21st, 2017. And here is a decode that Cozy Pepe from Sweden has done. Soros takes order from P. So this is P. Peter Poker Wallenberg. And this is the family. So here is the spider web. We can see here that you have the Wallenberg family on top. None of the below can make a phone call or even a small transaction without Ericsson. Ericsson listening in and have a hold on governments in 184 countries. And they all need power from ABB. So what you have is a net. The banking system, SWIFT, BIS, Bank of International Settlements, that is incorporated in the telecom infrastructure of Ericsson. So they can surveil and listen to everything. And then you have the power from ABB. So this is one closed system. I mean, they also control the internet. So you can't have a banking system nowadays without telecom. That would be impossible. I mean, all the currency on bank accounts are digital money. And for that you need telecom. So if these guys decided that, no, we will pull the plug, we will close Ericsson, we don't want to do this anymore, then nobody on the whole world would have access to their currency, to their money. The money is actually debt. So we have a debt-based currency now. And that is totally reliant on these systems. So no wonder that Trump said that that Ericsson is a national security threat. Because the power that this family have over Ericsson, this is a globalist crime family. They surveil everything. So this network that they have created, it's so brilliant. You have the banking system that goes on a telecom infrastructure. And then you have the power from ABB, and it's all intertwined. And it all goes on internet, which is also controlled by them. Trump called them out. He said that This is a national security threat to the US, but not only to the US. I mean, this is global. This is the whole world. So we're going to listen to Trump here, what he says about this globalist oligarch crime family from Sweden.
In 2009, a company called Ericsson came under U.S. pressure for selling telecom equipment to several oppressive governments, including Sudan, Syria, and Iran. Some of these regimes use those technologies to monitor and control their own people. In June 2011, Hillary Clinton's State Department began adding goods and services to a list that might be covered under expanded sanctions on Iran and other state sponsors of terrorism. During that time, Ericsson sponsored a speech by Bill Clinton, paying him $750,000, his highest paying speech. In April 2012, the Obama administration issued an executive order imposing sanctions on telecom sales to Iran and Syria, but those sanctions did not cover Ericsson's work in Iran. A Trump administration will end the government corruption.
This is a picture from the White House, the 6th of March 2018, in 2018. And here you can see the whole delegation from Sweden. Here you have, I think she was the ambassador to Washington, D.C. Here you have Marcus Wallenberg, Jacob Wallenberg, Martin Lundstedt, Stefan Löfven, he was the prime minister, Håkan Buske, I believe he's Saab, they sell weapons before they used to sell cars. Börje Ekholm, he's the CEO of Ericsson. Oskar Stenström, he is really interesting and we will talk more about him. Pascal Soriot, Ylva Berg, Mikael Damberg, these are politicians. So this is the 6th of March. On the 6th of March, Q post 860, it says, first boom revealed, did you catch it? The last will be magical, Q. And here you can see also the 6th of March, here you meet Stefan Löfven and Donald Trump at the White House. And this was the Prime Minister. So this was the first boom revealed. Did you catch it? This was a boom really for us and for the whole world when we understand the power. I think most of you have seen some of these companies, ABB, Atlas Copco, EQT, FAM, this is the family foundation, Ericsson, Husqvarna, SAS, SEB, the bank, 3 is a mobile operator, phone, SKF, Sobi, Wärtsilä, Saab, yeah, the weapon, and aircrafts manufacturer. Nasdaq. And Nasdaq is really interesting because Nasdaq is not only one stock exchange, it's actually the platform for all the stock exchanges globally. So more than 150 stock exchanges are on their platform, all of them. So let's just imagine that you have a quantum computer, maybe since the 70s, something like that. And then you have the telecom infrastructure, the power grid. Then you have the platform for all the exchanges globally. And you also have a Bank of International Settlements, and SEB, SE-banken. I think you have an advantage. That's leverage right here. And this is the main company, Farm and Investor. And this is so smart. I mean, if you Google Investor, you will get so many hits. So they have, and this is family, FAM. So what they have done in order to esse non vedere, to act without being seen, they have this name that you can't Google. You can't Google these names. So, and then here, of course, is AstraZeneca, and that was really exposed during the pandemic. So many companies here that are controlled by this family. And here is also a small video done by Deep State. He's really good. He does short videos for TikTok and so on in Sweden.
Let's just frame it so everyone can understand. They lay their hands on the mining industry. Through their company called Atlas Copco, they control the telecommunications and surveillance through Ericsson. They could also control the power grid through their company ABB. The deep state also takes control of the narcotics industry through the intelligence community. Any so-called drug lord or cartel has always been allowed to operate as long as they run the errands of the deep state. If there is any oil, it can be extracted through a company called Lundin Oil, which is a Swedish company, also connected to the deep state. Feel free to Google the following phrase, Lundin Oil and Sudan. You can also see if you can find the connection between Lundin Oil and Swedish politician and diplomat Carl Bildt. Maybe you will also find out if he is connected to the Clinton Foundation and George Soros. It's such a small world, after all. Let's just say that when the deep state has successfully taken hold of a country in order to steal and control its natural resources, it's not that easy to get rid of them.
So this is really a hidden enemy. Trump was talking about the invisible enemy. And this is the people in the shadows that you have never heard about. Many of you haven't, at least. Or at least we haven't understood really how their ecosystem work. If we talk about the Rothschilds, and let's say that they have $600 trillion, I don't know. So they have digital confetti, that's what they have. But let's say that these guys decided to just close their business for the day, and then no one would be able to access our money. So I think this is the main reason why Sweden was not in lockdown, because you can't shut down the business. Then we have no banking system, we have no telecommunications, we have no internet. I mean, everything today, a lamp and everything, it has an IP address, right? So they have to function. This company has to function. So that's why they couldn't close Sweden in lockdown. That was impossible. And here we can also see a map of all their companies. You have, we can do like this. ABB, SAS, Ericsson, White House, Autoliv, Raoul Wallenberg, Morgan Stanley, General Motors, AstraZeneca, and Nasdaq, Goldman Sachs, Stora Enso, Bretton Woods Committee, Institute of International Finance, Temasek, Saab Group, it's Siemens, Zurich Insurance, Skandinaviska Enskilda Banken, that's the bank, SEB, Coca-Cola, So this is, we have done many like this, but it's a spider web and they are working together and they all know each other. So this is a prominent family. This was on Wikipedia the richest family in the world. This is the family in the shadows. This is the core of the deep state. If they decided to close their business, we would have no money whatsoever, no communications worldwide. So in 1972, the World Bank says that the telecom infrastructure is actually the backbone of a country, or the nerve system of a country. And that's true. I mean, what would we have if we don't have internet, no phone, no communications, no paying infrastructure, no access to our money? Then we would have no society. So their leverage, and they have also used this leverage in a really, really bad way. Their family goes back to the 1600s. And the Chinese, they say that the Wallenberg, or a couple of Swedes, they say, have controlled China for 200 years. So this is a really, really powerful and criminal family out of Sweden. So I think that we should let the Wallenberg show us how their ecosystem works, how they are involved in education, science, and so on. Do you know that Epstein, he funded their university, Handelshögskolan in Stockholm. And Barbro Enbom, she was actually the one finding the girls from Sweden that got a scholarship to be able to go to Epstein. So this is all intertwined. So we know that you will get a totally different view about Sweden, and we want to be the one telling you that we want to stand up for the people, and we want this to end. But we want you to know what a couple of Swedes have done through history and all over the world. And we take responsibility in order to educate the public about this family and this network and their crimes against humanity. And we take this really seriously. And we want it to be us telling you this. And we don't support them. We could have understood more, we could have done more, but we were all fooled by them. Their motto is esse non vedere, to act without being seen, or to act without being seen. And they have really succeeded in that for a very long time. But now they are exposed every day in Swedish newspapers. So draining the swamp is really going on in Sweden right now. Thank you so much for listening today, and thank you for supporting my channel. Hit the like button and follow. Now we let the Wallenberg tell us about their ecosystem. Have a nice day.
More than 100 years ago, a unique vision was created that is recognized today as the Wallenberg ecosystem. This journey began in 1856 when Andre Oskar Wallenberg started Sweden's first private branch bank, Stockholms Enskilda Bank, known today as SEB. 60 years later, the industrial holding company Investor was sprung out of this bank. When Knut and his wife Elise Wallenberg established the Knut and Elise Wallenberg Foundation in 1917, the final pillar of the ecosystem and the family's engagement was put in place. Ever since 1917, this engagement manifests itself in two main activities: support for excellence in science and developing industry-leading businesses.
The number of foundations has grown over the years. Some of them have been started by family members and some have been started in honor of family members. Today we're all together 16 foundations, and collectively we call them the Wallenberg Foundations.
The Wallenberg Foundations are sole owner of FAM and the majority shareholder of Investor AB. These two committed and long-term holding companies have invested their money in a portfolio of leading international businesses. The foundations grant 80% of the dividends to science and education, while 20% can be reinvested in existing or new companies, generating additional capacity for grants. So it is the successful development of these companies that provides the basis for the grants provided by the foundations. These grants give excellent researchers from all over the world the opportunity to pursue breakthrough research at Swedish universities.
Over the course of the Wallenberg Foundation's 100-year history, we have so far granted over 3 billion euros in grants. And every year we fund more than 1,000 researchers in their effort to reach new knowledge. We are very proud that the foundations have been able to increase their grants to today 200 million euros on a yearly basis. Through these funds, new ideas and insights are generated which contributes to the development of the society through innovations, new services and products which ultimately benefits everyone.
1917, 1918, that was the big plague. Not since 1917. We came to that conclusion. Even if you go back into 1917, but 1917. Now, in 1917, had they had the internet and all the means of communication, they could have practiced distancing.
I've read about the Spanish flu. That was 1917.
I would say since 1917, which was the greatest of them all. 1917, it was in 1917, 1918. The flu is nothing to sneeze at. Last time was of this magnitude, 1917. The worst pandemic since 1917. Probably 1917 would be the closest analogy. And you could go to 1917. You can probably go back to 1917. 1917. 1917. 1917. Maybe 1917.
Finally, follow up for Mr. Trump. Do you think that trade is where Sweden and US differ most right now?
Oh, I think we have very good relationships on trade. We have had, and we are constantly in touch. We have, on the military, great cooperation, including design of various components of aircraft, et cetera. And we were discussing that. We have some of the great makers of these components in the room with us today. Now, we have a very good relationship on trade, and we always will have. Sweden's a great country. It's small, but it's very sharp, I will tell you. They are very sharp. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.